I'm David Icke from Worlds Enough Studios, and in this short video, I want to answer the question, what in the world is domain-driven design? And why is it important to you as a business owner or a project manager or a tech lead? I have two words for you. Ubiquitous language is the key to success. Now, I'm not going to explain that yet, so you'll have to wait a few minutes to find out what in the world I'm talking about. Because first, I've got some bad news. In a 2022 report, the Consortium for Information and Software Quality, or the CISQ, found that in the US, the cost of poor quality software had risen to at least $2.41 trillion. And that's up from $1.31 trillion in 2018. $2.4 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Up from 1.3, nearly doubled in 4 years. It gets worse though. They also found that technical debt has become the biggest obstacle to making changes to existing code bases, with the principal of that debt sitting at roughly $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion just to fix all the problems that already exist, and we keep making more software. So what do those big numbers mean? And especially, what do they mean for you and your business? They mean that across the US, businesses like yours, small, medium, large, all of them are suffering under the costs of poorly written software. So what are those costs? You know what they are instinctively. They're the bugs that stop your business from running, either because your staff can't do their work or because customers get spooked from opening their wallets. And when you try and fix the problems, it's expensive because the software was written in a hurry with very poor quality and without a strong understanding of how your business works. So that's the bad news. My question for you is this: is poor quality software hurting your business? And how did you end up with that software? Well, there are about as many bad software stories as there are programmers in this world. Every programmer, from the high schooler sitting in his bedroom to the highest paid rock star on Wall Street, has written bad software. Seriously, go ask your favorite devs if they've written bad software and cue the nervous laughter. I've done it, they've done it, every one of us has done it. So as a decision maker with a budget, you have a responsibility to your business. You need to lower your expenses, you need to raise revenues, and you don't have time to mess around. So custom software for your business is an opportunity to do both of those things. You have the opportunity to make your people more efficient at what they do. You have the opportunity to better meet the needs of your customers, but only if the engineers that you hire are able to get it right. And the dark side is really dark. Trillions of dollars across the US wasted on bad software every year, and the trend just keeps getting worse. So what's the solution? Do you just move to an off-grid cabin in Idaho and spend the rest of your life milking goats? Well, okay, yeah, that does sound nice some days, but it's not going to help your business at all. So instead, I want to talk about process. You're familiar with business processes, how you hire people, how you produce, store, and ship your products, how you market your products, how you make sales, how you handle customer complaints. Every single one of those is a business process. Software development has often stood apart from the usual business processes as a bit of a dark art. It's practiced by grouchy wizards in a tower somewhere far away from where the real business people work. It's rather poorly understood and, well, with good reason, because it's still relatively new. If you think about it, your bookkeeper's accounting system would have been recognizable to a 14th century Medici banker. And the earliest techniques of mass production, they've been around since at least the early 1800s. If you took one of those early factory managers on a tour of one of today's factories, they'd probably understand at least half of it. But software? It really didn't start entering the business world until the 1960s, and then it was only in the largest firms. Software didn't really start transforming small and medium businesses until the 80s and 90s. And then the storm hit in the 2000s when the demand for custom software just skyrocketed. So Agile and all these various practices were the first really serious attempt to match business processes to software development processes in a way that actually works instead of a way that doesn't. Agile as an idea wasn't really fully conceptualized until 2001, and it has its roots in Scrum, which only goes back to product development processes that were brand new in the 1980s. Thankfully, Agile has spread and has taken hold, at least half-heartedly, in the modern software world. It's a good process, and people have done the research to prove it. The more wholeheartedly that you embrace Agile and Scrum, the better results you tend to get. But the funny thing is, if you go read the original Agile manifesto, most of it's not about software at all. It's about people and how they work together and how they communicate. Scrum's the same way, just more detailed. It takes the principles and provides tangible project management practices that live out those principles. But there's something missing. Agile tells us that developers and business people need to talk. Scrum tells us how often they should talk and how to structure those meetings and, well, how to keep track of the work that results from those meetings. But if you get your business people in the room with the developers and everybody's staring at each other, what the heck are you supposed to talk about? And that's where domain-driven design enters the picture. So if Agile and Scrum are focused on how business people and software devs should communicate, domain-driven design specifies what they should talk about. And it goes right down to the very choice of words. I'm serious. The most important concept in domain-driven design is the ubiquitous language. Ubiquitous is a $10 word that just means it's common. It's everywhere. It's unavoidable. The insight is this. Your software people and your business people, or the domain experts, need to be using the same language. If you're trying to write software to support your salespeople, and your sales manager talks about prospects, while your engineers are talking about rows in the accounts table, well, you're eventually going to hit some rough water there. Especially if there's also a spending accounts table, and then when someone says accounts, someone else has to ask, oh wait, which account are you talking about? The problem with a lot of software projects is that your business people use one language, your software people use another, and someone has to translate between them. Now, if you've ever traveled in a foreign country, you know that at some point, translation is going to cause some sort of confusion. And, maybe it won't end up being so bad. Just a funny war story you tell your buddies on the weekend. But maybe, just maybe, it's the start of a crack in the project's foundation. And it's going to lead to a cascade of misunderstandings and wasted work, which means wasted money, until the whole thing crumbles and falls apart someday. And I'm serious, that happens. Even if the project succeeds and the business benefits from it, what's going to happen when a brand new engineer comes in to add a new feature to support prospect management? How many hours is he going to spend figuring out that prospect means accounts? Then what if another engineer comes in and, well, he's in a hurry to make his boss happy and he makes a change to the spending accounts table when he should have made the change to the sales accounts table? My point is this. A ubiquitous language is a simple solution to this whole problem. If your sales domain expert calls them prospects, then your engineers call them prospects too. And they call the database table the prospects table. And if there are two kinds of accounts, the sales manager and the engineers stop and they have a conversation about that. And they hammer out the names for each concept because they both can't be called account. So instead, maybe you have expenses and revenue. It's not just the nouns either. The verbs get the same treatment. Sales calls, meetings, contract signing, any concept that's pertinent to the business process gets its own place in the software model. It gets its own corresponding name. So that at the end of the day, the structure of your software closely matches the structure of your business. Someone should be able to read through the software source code and get a reasonable understanding of how your business works. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's nice, but we're on a deadline here. Do I really expect you to pay for your very expensive engineers to sit down and write a dictionary? Well, no, not a dictionary. You're paying them to write software and, well, maybe documentation to go with that software. But you want that software to be successful, and you don't want to pay through the nose later when you need to make a change to it. Because businesses change. So when the business changes, the software needs to change with the business. Or it's going to cost even more money in lost time and sales. Now you might also object that your business people are way too valuable to have them sit down in a room with a bunch of pinhead engineers. They have better things to do. And isn't that what product managers are for? Well, again, we're back at translation through middlemen, where the product manager is stuck in this endless game of telephone between two radically different cultures. Inevitably, there's going to be expensive misunderstandings that end up wasting much more time and money than if the business experts had just sat down with the engineers and hashed things out directly. Because domain-driven design is about much more than language. But that's where it starts. The insight is that if you take the language out of your business and give your engineers the opportunity to speak that language with your business experts, real understanding of your business is going to develop in them. And devs that understand the business can then take that understanding and with timeless principles and best practices of software design, they can build a strong foundation of working software that models your business precisely. Not just now, but ongoing. Because when your business changes, the software needs to be readily adaptable to those changes. Because agile software development is really meant to be just that: agile, quick, light, easy, and nimble. But you can't have agile software unless you're willing to invest in the time and the cost to develop it the right way. So maybe you've heard the dictum, go slow to go fast. If you've ever built anything larger than a doghouse, you know that the most important part of the project is the foundation. It's also the slowest part. You have to measure and dig and measure again and dig some more and measure a third time. And only then do you start putting in concrete and rebar. And if the foundation is sloppy, everything's going to go slower, and the final product will always be off kilter. And eventually, you're going to have to rebuild it anyway and get it right the second time. But instead, if you do that hard work up front, it is painstaking. But if you get it right, the rest of the building can go up fast because the foundation is solid. And in the end, you have a system that supports your business for the long haul and stands the test of time. So hopefully I've got your attention. You want to learn more about domain-driven design and how it can make your business more efficient through better software. In my next few videos, I'll be going through this book, Domain-Driven Design, the original Blue Book by Eric Evans. I'll be going through it at a pretty high level and calling out the important parts that really mean a lot for your business. Basically, I'm reading it so you don't have to because it's pretty thick. I really do think that the principles in this book can improve how you develop custom software for your business. And if you understand these principles, and if you implement them in your next software project, you'll truly be able to use custom software to lower your expenses and increase your revenues. If you want to hear all that, please do hit the subscribe button below and that little notification bell too, so you won't miss any of it. Thank you very much for spending some time with me, and I really do hope that it's been helpful. Once again, I'm David Icke with Worlds Enough Studios. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.